Well, it's most likely criminal gangs connected to the drug trade. Some gangs have been particularly aggressive against journalists. I would point to the Zetas, for instance, that have killed, kidnapped, and intimidated a number of journalists in states like Veracruz, like Tamaulipas. They're not the only ones. There are some kidnappings and killings of journalists connected to, for instance, the Sinaloa cartel in northwestern Mexico. And in some cases, it is not impossible that some local authorities, either on their own behalf or as actors on the payroll of criminal gangs, might have been behind these crimes. Well, in some cases, it has created a vacuum, and it has created a mantle of silence over some of the tougher incidents related to the drug war. In a place like Tamaulipas, it's very difficult to know what is going on. It's very difficult to gauge whether the government's actions are having an effect or not. It's very difficult to know how active is organized crime in those places. It is very difficult to mobilize society against organized crime in these conditions. The vacuum created by reliable information has been taken over in some cases by rumors, by social media, by sources that can be very valuable under certain circumstances, but do not have journalistic rigor. And it's very difficult to differentiate fact from fiction. Even in the daily life in some of these places, the lack of information is a life and death condition. People need to know whether there's a shootout somewhere. People need to know whether to take their kids out of school. People need to know whether their police forces are corrupt or not. Whether to stop at a police checkpoint or not, or whether those are criminals. So it does have quite an effect. I think it is a very bad combination to have a lot of crime and a lot of silence. Some of them have. There have been some incidents of bloggers being killed. There have been some instances of people setting up Facebook pages that have been killed or intimidated in other ways. There have been some Twitter accounts that have been closed as a result of fear. So even though it's much tougher for criminal gangs or much tougher for local authorities to silence social media, criminals are not beyond trying to go after those outlets. Well, primarily because Mexico doesn't investigate and solve crimes against anyone. The clearance rate for homicide in general is about 20%. In the US, it's about 64%. It means that the high level of general impunity feeds into this. And in some cases, there might be complicity from local authorities. In some cases, it just might be the absence of capacities to build a solid case. Most of a lot of law enforcement in Mexico is very primitive in its means. Confessions, use of torture are means that replace scientific investigations. So it might be this combination of complicity and sheer incompetence. over the long run, Mexico will have to do something. And over and beyond whatever pressure is coming from international bodies, there is a clear moral case, a clear political case in Mexico for protecting journalists. You cannot send the message that it is okay to target some specific professions. That it is okay. It is not only journalists, also, for instance, human rights activists. It is also NGOs. So the country really needs to make an effort. How long will that take? Well, we don't know. There needs to be a concerted effort. There needs to be institutional transformation. There needs to be some line drawn in the sand by the authorities, making the case that this is simply not acceptable behavior. There was a lot of pressure, probably building on 2010, 2011, 2012. I'm not sure the pressure is still there, the political pressure to do this. The pressure did lead to the change in the law, to forcing the federal government to take charge of this. But it is yet to create sufficient pressure for that intervention to be effective. We don't know yet. The law was just passed last year. I would be somewhat skeptical that this is going to have a large deterrent effect, because the PGR, the Federal Attorney General's office, does not have a lot of capacities. It is probably better than local prosecutorial bodies, but it's not much better. So unless and until we build up capacity throughout the system, we're not going to see a large effect. Hopefully, more recently, the Zetas have been targeted directly by both the Calderón and the Peña Nieto administrations, and that might reduce the pressure on journalists, because these guys were the most aggressive of the gangs against journalists. So that might have some effect. But the law itself, I'm not quite sure.